being a cool kid. I've never been called that before.
So when I hear the phrase cool kid, I always think of high school cafeteria.
I swear the things people say to other human beings in public, like in so many different aspects of life, which we all know what has been happening recently.
All right. Welcome back to Staying Grounded.
Yes. And in the spirit of staying grounded, I think it's very appropriate for us to touch on today's topic.
Oh boy, is it.
And the perception of certain people within our community. And maybe sometimes that's us, maybe that's not. But
Every community, I think.
of course,
yeah,
right. But this idea of cool kids, who are they? What are they? Where do they come from?
Are they ruining Tango?
Are they ruining Tango? And why are they like that? And if we just didn't have the cool kids in the Milonga, it'd be so much better.
Yeah. Well, I think we have a lot to say.
I have a lot to say. But, I'm sure some people will, of course, be rolling their eyes at that. But it'll be,
yeah.
I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. First, what are the cool kids? Right? Are the cool kids the good dancers?
Well, let's take a step back. Who uses the word cool kids? Before we jump into analyzing this, right? In my experience, usually it's the people who feel like they are not the cool kids attribute this term to a group of people that they believe are the cool kids. I don't think you would ever approach a group that you would consider cool kids and ask them, do you consider yourself part of the cool kids? They would be like, no, we're just chilling, hanging out. Like, come join us. So I do think that there is some element of projection happening, but that helps to set the stage of why do people look at a certain group of people or person in the Milonga and say that's a cool kid, and usually it's not a positive thing to say about that person.
Okay, but I also think there are some communities, yes, but also sometimes there's a dynamic of like the cool kids are the teachers, the organizers, the DJs, the people that are creating the structure of the event, and maybe perceived as being high-level dancers, which isn't always the case.
So then I would say my first bullet point of how I think people sometimes tend to define cool kids are people who firstly are in the limelight more, who are seen more, who travel more around the country so more people know them. It's probably more than likely more people know them than they know people at a given space. Just because they're more visible, because like you said, they're part of the planning team. Maybe they're just such a frequent flyer, and so you see them a lot, right? Maybe they are quote unquote part of what you would consider the better dancers in the room, and so they also are seen on the dance floor. They're doing things.
Well, they're desired
more. Then also that leads to then maybe possibly some people are repulsed by the idea of a cool kid, right? And I don't know anybody who's been ever called a cool kid that feels proud of this term. Usually they're like, that's not me, I don't do that. So I think it's an interesting term that nobody truly agrees. The people being called cool kids would not agree that they're cool kids and would not proudly want to be called that for the most part.
Sometimes, but I think
well, we're talking
generally
outliers,
but I think generally if we're labeling cool kids, it's a group of people that are inaccessible in some way, or appear to be inaccessible. Sometimes they are and sometimes they're not. Right. And I don't think all cool kids don't think they're cool kids. I do think some, I think there's some amount of ego that sometimes goes into it. Because we've all been at the festival where a group of 10 people who met up and they're friends. They are usually friends and they don't see each other often. But in an entire weekend of a marathon, they just danced with each other, right? So they may be their own group of cool kids for whatever reason. It might just be that they're good friends. They want to see each other. They dance. It might be that they're like, oh, this level is really mixed. I'm better than everybody else. That's possible. So I don't want to discredit that. That is something. Yes. And maybe
I don't think it's representative.
No. Maybe not representative. But I think the perception from the non-cool kids, the people that are saying, oh, those are the cool kids are... They think they're better than everybody. Yeah. Typically. Yeah. Right? So that or then is the maestros, the DJs, whatever. So I think there's two separate categories here.
We should be clear when we talk about that.
Yeah,
Cool Kids
exactly.
A versus Cool Kids B. Could we take a step back and walk through our journey from our beginnings in Tango and how we may have been part of the group that perceived
Yeah.
cool kids, and then maybe if we did become cool kids at some point or were perceived as being cool kids, I'd be interested to know, maybe from you guys first, like what was, can you just walk us through from your beginnings to now your perception of cool kids?
Sure. So, let's see. When I started dancing, I I was just very friendly and open, and I didn't perceive it. I think I could notice experienced dancers that had, mostly looking at the follows because I was following. Like I could notice the experienced dancers that had beautiful feet, right? The technique in their feet, and I only noticed like to watch them, and then maybe over time I started to pick up on like, oh, they hung out with these certain people, and oh, that's a group of friends. In my head, I didn't see it as those are cool kids or they're not cool kids. I think it was more, within Tango, it's a large community. And then we have subgroups within those communities. So it wasn't that I was looking for cool kids. I think I was looking for people, and I didn't know this, that would become my friends, like genuine friends. So I was looking for people that were kindred spirits, if you will. It was not about cool kids. It wasn't until maybe I went to festivals, marathons, but even then, my perception was that they were advanced dancers and that their level far exceeded mine. I didn't want to dance with them because I
What am
would
I
have
gonna
been
offer?
too anxious, right?
Right.
I'm like, and even still, there are scenarios where I'm like, how I can't get the tension out, right?
How did you feel towards that group of more advanced dancers in the room? Did that make you feel a certain sort of way?
No, I love to watch them.
Okay.
They were inspirational. Not that I desired to become part of that group, but that I enjoyed watching them. That if I wasn't dancing, I was trying to soak up movement and education, even just from observation, right? And I didn't begrudge anybody their own friendships and relationships.
Right.
Also, being a shy person, I recognized that like some people are just shy and more reserved. But there was a point that I identified people that I thought felt friendly. These people have since become my friends. I think people would say that they're cool kids. But to me, from the outside, I was like, that looks like a nice person in the way that they're interacting, not dancing, the way that they're interacting with other people. And it wasn't that they saw to dance that I was watching them. They weren't like, oh, we danced and then goodbye. It was like, oh, we're having a conversation. I care about you as a person. And I was like, I want to be part of that. I want to be part of like these people that are getting to know each other as people. Then the festivals happened. Then, I was photographing. So it was a very different, I was in the parties with the maestros at a very young in my tango age, like part of my life, like a year in, right? So the dynamics changed pretty quickly. Because if I'm sharing an image with like Javier from behind the scenes and Chicho and Juana, like people suddenly were like, oh, she has access to those people that I don't have. I was a
Did
fly
you
on
feel
the
a
wall.
different? Did people treat you differently?
Yes.
After that,
Yes.
Like in which ways?
So pretty immediately, and I think I met John somewhere around this time.
He can tell us if he thought you were a cool kid.
No. It wasn't that I was a cool kid. Sure, I had these personal connections with some people that maybe other people desire, but I learned really quickly that maestros are just people. They're just people. They're doing their job. They're trying to enjoy this thing that they felt so passionate about that they want to like push it forward.
Right.
But ultimately, they're just people. And it also meant that walking through a festival, sometimes I would just be stopped and stopped and stopped and stopped and stopped. So in the room, yes, I became a cool kid because people admired what I was doing. But it also meant that like people were like, oh, I got to go tell her how much. And as much as I appreciate it, also it removed my ability to just enjoy it as an attendee as well, right? So like there was this part of me that was like, just want to dance. Like, I just want to dance. I don't want to talk about photography. Like, I want to capture it. Thank you so much for appreciating it. But please, at some point, it becomes a little overwhelming, right? And I think I withdrew.
That's what I was going to ask
Yeah,
next.
I was like, oh, let me be in my little bubble. Let me hang out with my friends. If my friends introduce me to people, then like they're a little bit vetted, right? But like the number of conversations where it just wouldn't end, and I'm hearing this beautiful Tango, and I'm like, I just want to dance to this, and I can't even like look around because I don't want to be rude, and I can't find a dance. That like I just became so close. So 100% people were like, now she's a cool kid.
Now she's.
And I heard people saying about me, like I literally overheard somebody saying, yeah, she's a wonderful dancer, but she's a snob. And I was like, no, I just want to be able to dance. And it means I can't talk to all 400 people that are here or 100 people. So like, and sometimes like some people would hang around for was longer than appropriate because they wanted to chat, right? Like to like 1% of what maestros must feel. 1%, which gave me a greater appreciation. So if maestros are in town, I'm like,
Let them be.
I'm like, let them be. Stop bugging them. Don't stare at them. Like, let them also enjoy it in their off hours. Let them have some downtime, right?
And how do you feel that now? Because now you're maybe there was a moment, right, where you had more kids, maybe you stepped out of Tango,
Yes.
you're back, and then you're back in the spotlight again as an organizer and teaching.
Yeah. So I know for a while, like during that I found my husband, we fell in love. I just wanted to dance with him, and people thought I was snobby because like if we're going out, it's a date night, right? And then
sorry, you liked your husband.
I liked my
and
husband.
Wanted to socialize with him outside.
Yeah, which like so if I see a couple at a milonga, like and there's one that sticks out. I love dancing with him, and like often they're dancing together. I get it though. I get it. Like you want to dance with the person you care about, and like that's a special thing, right? So I don't begrudge it. I'm like, oh man, but I don't begrudge it, you know. Yeah, so attending as just us, and like I think at some point we also like COVID happened and we felt such a loss of community that when we were able to come back, we really wanted to make sure that like we were really strengthening our bonds of friendship and that it wasn't just to go and get dances. And then now we've been at it a long time. And in Tango, like, you know, people dance for like 2 years, a lot of them drop off. 5 years, a lot of them drop off. 10 years, a lot of people have dropped off, right? And from our cohort, a lot are gone. So being more experienced dancers just by default, then it's like, I think sometimes it feels like people want to dance with you because it's a notch on their belt, right? And that's a different dynamic before you even become organizers. And then you become an organizer. And for me, I have a hard time with just this idea of like, do these conversations have an ulterior motive? Does this person want something? Or is it that this relationship isn't about a relationship between you and me, but it's about a relationship, because you're the founder of BTS or because you're running a Brazo or, you know, that part I have a hard time with. And being the like cool kid as an organizer, I strongly dislike it. I'm just like, no, I want to be able to just enjoy Tango and also organize an event, but also just enjoy Tango, right?
So do you do anything intentional to either try to disrupt that thought process from people who do think it regarding Abrazo, regarding any of our events, and or what is your approach now? And do you see cool kids now in your milonga, in our milonga? And like, do you take anything proactive to try to like not create that sense of there being cool kids?
Well, we have conversations. Like I've been having these really intense conversations with like quite a few people. They know who they are if they're listening, about like being welcoming, being open. Like there's a thing that happens when you're a traveling dancer and you start to become closed off because you're like, I just can't get that in my local community. And I've been doubling down. I've been like, no. That means we need to develop our community. That means we need to be more open. We need to work together. We need to push to enjoy this local community, because otherwise all of like the most enjoyable moments just go away, right? So yes, fostering friendships with people that are extra friendly. Absolutely. Especially like my friends, like I think actually most of my closest male friends are very friendly. They are not people that show up and they're like, I'm only going to dance with these 3 people, right? They not only dance with lots of people of varying levels of experience, but also they talk to people. So I try to encourage those people to show up at the milonga. And if I see somebody, sitting, I do try to, like, actually I send John because he's better at it. I try to make sure that, and I see you doing it, like you guys have the skill to like help connect people that's stronger, more developed than my skill. And I try to make sure that that's happening, but definitely in conversations with people behind the scenes, like these conversations have been happening, right? Because it's like, how do we make this community? And I think it was, so you made us go dance salsa. You made us go dance salsa.
Come on, I didn't make you, right?
No, okay, no.
No, I
You
didn't.
encourage us.
I had a side conversation with John because I knew if he was on board, he could maybe get you on board because you were like, I don't know, talk to John. I was like, she's trying to cop out. So I told John from like there's a reason for this, all right?
Yeah,
just go with the program. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Well, it was an incredible experience. I mean, it was fun. It was just hands down fun.
Yeah.
But the thing was that we went in there. Nobody knows any of us.
Yes.
Nobody knows us from anybody else.
And we were there with teachers.
And we were there with these maestros, incredible maestros.
It was definitely liberating.
Yes. But what I thought was just amazing was that these people would come up and ask you to dance. And like in tango, if somebody comes up and asks you to dance, you're like, oh, no, that's going to be a bad dance because they don't have the etiquette, right? But this is a different culture. Yeah. And I think you assume like if somebody's coming up and being so forward, they're asking me because they can't get a dance, right? But these were really great dancers. And I was saying no because I'm like, I don't really know how to dance salsa. Like I had like 4 lessons 12 years ago, right? But then I would watch the people that had asked and I'm like, okay, like that.
Very different.
Right? Very, very different. And it was just so friendly. It was so friendly and so welcoming. And I'm like, and we had these conversations afterwards. How do we bring a piece of it? Like, obviously, we can't make tango salsa, but how do we make our community more welcoming, right? So, like, I think really encouraging the people to come that are doing some piece of that, that are seeing a unfamiliar face and turning around and saying, like, hey, have we met?
Yeah. So that means we also need to be those people.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, okay. But what about you? That was my very long-winded.
I wanted to ask John next, just before. Okay. If I start my rants.
Okay. All right.
We may run out of time for this episode.
So backing up a little bit. So when I hear the phrase "cool kid," I always think of high school cafeteria, and then like seeing the various social groups. Yeah. And I think like what you said, Amanda, about some quality that makes them unapproachable or like very insulated and difficult to get into. That's 100%. My first experience with Cool Kid was definitely when I first started traveling for Tango. I mean, I started in a small community. I was lucky enough to start with a cohort of relatively young dancers, and we came up quickly. The first time I traveled was maybe a couple months in, like maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 months in, and I went to, I want to say Yale Tango Festival. It was very close to New York City, so there was like a big, it was the first time I saw, like Robin Thomas and Adam and Chico, the New York crowd. And
I remember you mentioned it was Chico, right?
Yeah, it was Chico. And I at that point, like before that point, I had no idea, like the level of, I had no idea the ceiling on level of dancing, right? That could exist. And not only that, I didn't realize there was the whole, tango fashion, that whole aspect of it. Yeah. The quote unquote uniform, as it were. And so these are all like aspects like, oh man, those people are so cool. And then like back then it was the guys were like with the crazy big pants, right? Like crazy big. And
the white belt and the white shoes?
There's still some of that,
later.
but
okay.
Literally the pants were insane. And so all of that stuff was like, well, I can't imagine myself participating in any of that. So I felt like that was very like, oh man, those people were so cool. And like you said, Melody, watching them dance, clearly they were super high level dancers, very experienced, and I really enjoyed watching them dance. That particular event, I really enjoyed the classes, but going to the Malongas was simultaneously like very, very intimidating, right? I barely danced at any of the Malongas. It was just sort of being a wallflower and watching the dancing that was happening and sort of taking it, feeling very uncomfortable, 100%, but sort of recognizing, oh, okay, this world is much bigger than what I had thought. Yeah. So, but then, fast forward, obviously, being in a small town was kind of like the big fish in a little pond kind of a thing. So, but now moving to DC and having access to so many more dancers and now being an organizer and bringing maestros, the term cool kid is almost, to me, slightly derogatory because it's very, thinking about it now, it's very reductive. Oh, jeez, Amanda.
What did you do?
She knocked the mic with the mug. So I find the term cool kid to be very reductive because to me, it's just indicative of you actually not knowing the person that you are labeling as cool kid, right? So like you said, Melody, right? Like we have our friends that I think people would consider to be cool kids, but if you know them, like you don't think of them as being cool kids. You think of them as being much more complicated than just two words, right? Like they have their own personalities, preferences, they have their own styles. Yeah. Like things are going on. Like if you don't know them, then the only thing you know about them is what happens for the like couple hours that you share you're in the same space with them at a Malanga. But once you get to know them, and find out their own trials and tribulations, it's like a very different experience. Like you see them through different like through different eyes. So it like you said, it's like a community thing, right? And I've definitely like people have definitely accused, like playfully, like me and us collectively of being the cool kids, and I'm certainly don't feel that way, right? Like our lives are pretty hectic, and it's like there's nothing about my life that feels cool. It's just like we're trying to do something that we enjoy.
And we've been around a long time.
Yeah, we've been around a long time.
We've been around for so long that we're more likely to know people or to have some shared history with people, right? We have a lot of miles under our feet. I think part of it, though, is it that people feel that cool kids have the ability to dance with whoever they want to dance with, and they don't feel that they have that ability? Is it a jealousy type of thing?
So I think
it's a really good point, Melody.
I'm
sure that plays into it.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think when I was, being a wallflower and watching those I perceived to be cool kids dancing, I was definitely envious of the perceived confidence that they seemed so comfortable in the space, they could, I was envious that like they knew people, like it felt like they had the community, right? That they had their friends, they had the community, their level of dancing was high, that they felt comfortable and at home. Like it's almost as if like the clothes, the uniform was sort of indicative of like, oh, they belong there, right? That sense of like, oh, this is kind of my place, right? So, but I think that's kind of a little bit of an illusion. Like now that like we're doing this long enough, that just feels like it's all like expressive, right? It's all you're kind of expressing who you are, and whether or not that's that means something more than expressing who you are, that's kind of, there's an interpretation on the other side.
And so clearly, like in our experience, we've felt both not a cool kid, and then also we have been perceived to be the cool kids, right? Amanda.
Me being a cool kid, I've never been called that before.
Huh.
No, I think what really gets to me being called a cool kid now is this lack of understanding of how I came to be in this moment in Tango in my life. It didn't just appear. It wasn't like I was just lucky. I worked my ass off in Tango. It took me a very long time just to feel accepted in the general crowd in a milonga, right? And I mean, I feel like walking through life, part of it was I looked very different from a lot of people, right? I'm not of the general accepted stereotype of beauty in a predominantly white space necessarily. And a lot of times when you don't know people, the way they look can also at least help you get over some of those biases, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So even when I started changing how I looked and how I dressed, it just didn't really still help, right? And this was in addition to me constantly working on myself. And because I was a dancer before Tango, so for me, like the art of dancing was what drove me a lot in Tango. So I worked a lot on my technique and the music, it just everything. So that was usually my priority first. And so I was wondering at one point in the beginning, like, okay, I need to get better so that people would want to dance with me. And then I would dance with a few people and they would say, wow, you're such a good dancer. And I would feel good too. So there was like this mutual understanding of, okay, I'm better now, but why am I still not able to penetrate a broader set of leaders at the Milonga? And so that's when I started dressing differently, and that kind of sort of helped, but not really. And then I started to find people who I just vibed with, right? And then you start to repeat and go back to the same people again and again. And these are people that you would sleep over with and spend the whole weekend with and form bonds with and like cook together and eat together. And then when you show up at the next event together, you're now like BFFs, right? Because like relationships in Tango can grow so strongly, so quickly. So then slowly I became part of the groups of people in the Milonga that knew each other and were very, let's say, outgoing in the Milonga because maybe we were carrying jokes from the night before or we were still like furthering conversations from earlier that morning over breakfast. But even though I was part of this group that I think when I look back, people would say, oh, those are cool kids. I was still not fully, even within that group, I wasn't fully accepted as a dancer yet, right? Like many people within that group still wouldn't necessarily dance with me. So that's why I sort of balk at this idea that cool kids are necessarily good dancers or the best dancers. It's just, I think it's really more about the group of people that just are, just appear to be more closely knit and interacting at an event. Maybe they are the ones laughing extra loud in a corner. I was once told that over the course of a year, someone saw me as one of those people laughing and having fun, and they just thought like, to them, they did not want to even ask me to dance because of that.
What?
And then when we did dance the year after, they're like, wow, you're so like calm and chill. Like I would have never guessed. And I'm like, because I was laughing in a milonga, like.
Because you're having a good time. That's weird.
Yes, people have anyways, I digress. So yeah, I did go for, but I will say like that journey to becoming friends with the more visible group in the room. I never again, like I saw them and I think there was a moment of me feeling like I wish I had a group like that. Even if it's that group or a different group, I wish I knew enough people in Tango that I was that comfortable around. And this could just be like my home when I come to the Milonga and I'm not sitting in the corner and with me and my one friend and we're trying to navigate the space. So there was that sense of envy, but it wasn't like blame on them. It was just like a wish for myself.
Yeah.
Anyway, naturally happens. And I think there were a few break point or turning point moments where someone who was very experienced took a chance with me, right? And this was after long conversations of me like engaging with them. And I don't think it was because of the conversations, but it was more so like understanding more about each other and what we like liked in Tango. And like when you start to get to know people, then it makes you have a different purpose for wanting to dance. And then when people saw me dancing with those people, then it was like, oh, Amanda's good. But it was like, I mean, my level hasn't changed that drastically from the last time you saw me to this time. So I knew it wasn't anymore like my experience as a dancer. So like I went through a lot of like personal, just like never feeling good enough for a very long time. And again, even there was another person who took a crazy wild chance on me at another event, and this was a traveling person from Europe who was like one of the best dancers, you know, at the time and in the room. And we danced multiple tandas, and people were like, "Oh my gosh!" And I'm like, if someone's traveling, never seen this community, and they can come and look at the dance floor and appreciate, you know, X, Y, or Z things about dancers here, and just ask them like, what's limiting us? Like we're all local to the US. We've seen each other a lot. Like what are you really not looking at when you're, but anyways, I digress. So there was a lot of that finally then I started to get asked more. Right? Then I started to have more options to say yes or no because I just had more asks. And then that also meant I was exposed to more different styles of leading, which meant I could improve my leading, my following, right? And then slowly I started to DJ. And by DJing, you are very much in the spotlight when you travel from city to city. I started teaching a little bit with some teachers, but not like fully yet. And then I think that's when I would start showing up to places. And then it was like, oh, it's Amanda D. Garley with that extra unnecessary flavor added to the pronunciation. And it was like, oh, Amanda's too cool for us now, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, is this your perception of the situation? Because like, at what point have I ever rebuffed you, right? Anyway, so yeah, it was like a long and hard road to feel accepted. And then finally, I just started to gain confidence in myself. And it's not to say confidence that I'm a good dancer, but confidence in my mistakes, confidence in my interpretation of what's going on, and like having no regrets about how I move on the dance floor because I am who I am. And if we match, that's great. If we don't match, it's not our faults. It's just we just didn't match, right? We're not speaking maybe the same dialect. And I think that can be perceived as being very confident, like you were saying, John, from the outside. I think it's less about skill per se and just more about someone feeling more comfortable in their body, in their tango, with or without the mistakes. And of course, just like over time, having more exposure, having a wider vocabulary can definitely help. So now that I'm also organizing, and I think those moments in time where I also started to pull back because again, it was like a constant barrage of unnecessary comments. Sometimes it felt like compliments, but sometimes it felt like a dig,
or a backhanded compliment.
Like a backhanded compliment. A lot of people don't realize. Like, I swear the things people say to other human beings in public, like in so many different aspects of life, which we all know what has been happening recently, but it's just amazing that people don't realize their true intentions come forward. And so if I snub that person from a dance, it's actually because of that interaction. It's not because of their dance. Sometimes I think people think the way people started to perceive me and the way that certain people started to talk to me and treat me, even though they had no idea. And I'm not going to call them out on these things because sometimes it also takes a moment to realize what they said, but it's not my job to have to tell each person, like, why are you being this way? It becomes very confrontational, right? And so I start distancing myself from certain people, and they think, oh, man, it's snubbing me in the dance. It's like, no, I'm snubbing you as a human being because I don't like the way you treat me, so I'm sorry. So that's why I take great offense. Like you said, I think it is a derogatory word to call someone a cool kid. I don't know anybody that's ever said that with good meaning behind it. And it usually comes from a large place, I think, of insecurity when people, it's one thing to think it and see it, but when you act on it and then you outwardly call someone that, it's taking it to another level. I don't know how many people who observe a group of cool kids that they perceive and ever try to engage with that group and get shunned. Like, I challenge you, if you see a group of cool kids that you think are cool kids in the Milonga, go have a conversation. If that's what you're into, like, make it an experiment. Go sit with a group as they're talking, introduce yourself, see how welcoming or not welcoming that group is. I'd be very curious. I think people's assumptions would be broken down very easily. if they were to do that, because no one's really against socializing. We're literally there to socialize.
Yeah.
But people don't want to be there to have to feel attacked and to have to defend themselves. So if you come from that angle, then you will be shut down for sure.
But I think if you're going to do that, it would have to be you're going over to socialize for socializing's sake.
Absolutely, to
With
break
a
the
genuine
assumption.
curiosity
Yeah,
about
yeah.
the people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not, oh, I want to be seen talking with you.
No. I mean to break your. I don't even care if you don't care about the people at all, but like break your assumption of this group being inaccessible for socializing,
or right? or don't go over and assume you're gonna talk and get a dance or something.
Right. This is the dancing part is a completely separate thing. Like, and we've talked about it many times why people accept dances or don't accept dances. Each person comes with their own feelings and motivations to be in the milonga at that time. You cannot make expectations of people to have to dance with you. It's great if people are open. Of course, we want that. But if they're not, like, you can't blame them for not being that way.
Yeah. Well, and there's a caveat I'll throw out there. I do think there are people I've met in Tango that, like you said, they've made snide comments or they've been offensive or like just if I hear somebody putting down somebody else's dance, I don't really want to be friends with that person. And I will, if it's my own friend saying it, I'll call them out and I'll be like, hey, we're not mean girls. We're not mean guys. We're like, this is not the culture we want to build. Right. So that to me, that is the one thing where I'm like, if I hear other people being derogatory about even maestros, I've heard people make comments about maestros that were just so rude that I'm like, no, okay. And I store it in the back of my mind and I'm just like, I don't think I really want to foster more of a relationship with this person, right? So like, it's not about dancing. For me, it's about people's ego. It's about humanity. It's about kindness. Are they kind to people?
Yeah.
So, and if you do go over and try to speak to whoever you perceive are cool kids and they're unkind to you, then do you really want to be friends with them anyway? Right? So like, I would say I'm the big caveat is like, I don't think all groups of cool kids are necessarily kind people or unkind people. Right. We can't generalize. And I think definitely there sometimes will exist a mean girl group, right? But do you want to be part of that anyway? Right. So like,
and it's not limited to only the perceived cool kids. There are one individual or couples of people in the room that are also equally as mean. Yes. Just because you can't see them doesn't make them any less mean.
Yes. And sometimes they could be mean because they're perceiving, oh, I'm not part of the cool kids. So now let me make this stratosphere where I'm in control of this by excluding other people. So like, I don't know, there's a lot of different layers of community and psychology. But I do think we can all, if we're feeling insecure, can we recognize it's our own ego, our own insecurity, and then at least try to challenge that by being welcoming. Have you been friendly to the people that you are saying? Have you said, hey, how are you doing? Or have you been like, they're a snob, let me be rude to them?
And a lot of times there's cool kids at every level.
Yeah.
Right? There are perceived cool kids at every level. So for those that are looking at this group of cool kids, there's probably another group of people looking at them and saying, oh, they're also another group of cool kids that I don't like. So for anybody listening to this, and if you've ever felt like you're in the space and you see a group of that you perceive to be cool kids, question your assumptions. And if it makes sense to you, introduce yourself to see, are they really that inaccessible as human beings? Figure out what people like. This is the part that astounds me. And I think it's like the most craziest thing, because it's like I could sit here and be like, oh, that person doesn't like dancing with me all day long. But have I actually inquired about what that person likes to dance to? Have I actually, and I'm speaking not just in general. Yeah. If there's 2 or 3 people in the space that you truly feel like do not dance with you, have you actually thought about what it is that they like in the dance? And is that something that you offer or you would even want to offer? Like, how can you just, like, to me, it's just like, do you know whether or not this person actually enjoys Puliese or Disarli or Danienzo? Like, have you watched them dancing? Do you think, do they look like they prefer a really nice close embrace, or do they like doing lots of big things, right? Yeah. Like, do you even know who they are as a dancer before you're rushing to go dance with them? Like, that's insane to me, to not take that time to observe the people and determine first before you. Sorry, that's it. But I think we still actually have a lot of questions on this topic. We've only shared our experience from starting to seeing perceived groups of cool kids to then being perceived as a cool kid. But I think maybe we can, in another episode, dive a little bit more into just like some general questions around how to evaluate, assess, address the role of organizers, things like that.
Yeah.
Could we do that?
Yeah, so
absolutely.
We'll just call this one part one.
But before we go, can I give an anecdote?
Please.
Yeah.
Okay, so okay, well, cut. No, so when you said Amanda, challenge our conception of cool kids, that reminded me. It was just a little while ago. I was at a marathon with a friend, with a follow, and it was just getting started. People were arriving. Another follow came in, very pretty lady, came in with just like a white t-shirt, jeans, little kind of ripped jeans, you know. And this was like an afternoon milonga, so it was kind of whatever, it was casual. But then my friend, she was like going down this deep hole. It's like, oh, she's so cool, she's so pretty. Oh, how she's so confident coming into a milonga with just like a white shirt and jeans. And I remember thinking, wow, that is a lot to think immediately based on, like, you don't know this person at all.
Yeah.
And I asked her, I was like, why is that the direction you went? What if I'm gonna give you this other scenario. What if it's like she's actually, you know, she's down on her luck, you know, she's like homeless, she doesn't have other clothes to bring to a milonga, but she still wants to dance, and this is just what she has, you know, like why is the story you created in your head like elevating her onto this platform, right? And which was kind of a fun little exercise, and I don't think I've ever done this.
What'd they say?
They just didn't, like, they didn't really have a good answer. It was just like, kind of, this is just like the habit, right? Like, I mean, I think in general, she was a very self-deprecating person. And when she compares herself to other people, it's so easy to sort of elevate these qualities that you perceive as being positive in others, and push down these same qualities. Yeah, exactly.
Those ants, they're back.
yeah, they're back. But yeah, that was kind of a fun little exercise that I had. But that was a while ago. But anyway, okay. So like we said, part 2. Yeah.
Yes, I think we have about a good list of questions we still need to get through on this topic.
Okay, so thanks everyone for tuning in this week on Staying Grounded. If you enjoyed what you heard and saw, please like and subscribe, and put your thoughts down in the comments. We love to hear them. We definitely read all of what people write. Definitely enjoy the engagement. So. But no, thank you. We'll see you guys next week.
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Staying Grounded. If you like this episode, please subscribe and give us a like. We would love to hear from you in the comments, and we'll see you next time.